He is the latest commit to the BYU football program. What made him pick the Cougars over a bevy of other suitors, including the likes of Oregon? We're talking with McKay Madsen next.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you who we like to call our everydayers right here on your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. Please welcome in now the newest BYU commit in McKay Madsen. You probably saw him at the Navy AllAmerican game this past weekend, making it official that he will be a BYU Cougar. McKay, I just want to start here. What made you ultimately decide that BYU is where you wanted to be?
I mean, ultimately, it came down to a feel. So at the beginning of last week at the Navy All-American game, I was kind of battling between, and I hadn't solidified a decision yet, kind of being on my own that week outside of, family influence, friends, and the coaches kind of left me alone for that week. It's kind of just me, my thoughts and prayers, and the Holy Ghost. And so towards the end of the week, I couldn't get BYU off my mind, and that's all my heart was drawn to. And so that's kind of when I knew. And that Friday night, I made the called coach up and was like, hey, I'm coming. So, it was a super long process, but ultimately what led me to that was just taking everything into account. I did my pros and cons list. I really couldn't have gone wrong at any school, but I just wanted to know where the place was for me. And so just after listening to the Holy Ghost and listening to my heart, I called up and solidified it.
What was the reaction from the BYU coaching staff when you told them, hey, I'm coming to Provo?
Just a lot of joy. It's been a long time coming, and the relationships I've grown with them have been awesome. So they were just super ecstatic, and those are the type of people I want to play for and be coached by. Yeah.
How difficult was it to turn down Oregon? Because I pay attention to the recruiting sphere, and they seem to be like this Leviathan out there, just like the big dog. It feels like in recruiting. Mm-hmm. How difficult was it to turn down the Ducks? Excuse me.
It was very hard. Having to make that phone call after committing. I've built a great relationship with him, Coach Brian Michalowski, the linebackers coach there. We spent a lot of time together. He was with me my entire official visit. And he's such a great guy, and I could definitely see myself playing for him, and I envisioned that, and I would have been totally happy with that route too. So it was really hard to say no, but he's understanding, and he knows I was rooted in faith, and I kind of told him that all along. That's what is driving my process is my faith and just listening to the Spirit, and so it was hard, but we haven't parted ways. That's a bridge I won't burn. I'll be playing for BYU. But it'll always be great to talk to him and catch up on the phone later in life, be friends.
Now, obviously, you have plans to go on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints before you enroll at BYU. Was there any thought that, hey, maybe you wanted to play a year before you went, or was it always, I'm going on the mission first?
I was always pretty set on just mission right after high school, just to avoid any troubles to coming back. My dad back then, because it was 19, he played a year and then went on the mission. Coming back, kind of not a struggle, but it's just difficult. So I just wanted to avoid all that. Come back, be a 20-year-old freshman, ripe and ready to go.
Well, you won't be alone, because I think BYU is pretty used to having a bunch of those guys in that variety. The other thing I wanted to ask you, just in regards to your decision, were you excited to do that at the All-American game? Some guys shy away from opportunities to do that on national television. Were you embracing that? Were you like, hey, I want to do that on national TV?
Yeah. At first, I was really shy. I was debating if I was even going to play in the game, just because I'm gearing up for track. I didn't want to get injured and stuff. But then my dad was like, dude, this opportunity is you're one of 100 kids in the whole nation who get to do it. And so called him up and told him, NBC offered because I was one of the few uncommitted that I could do that at the game. And so I took that chance. And now looking back on it, that was so God's timing, being able to announce at halftime with, I think they recorded over 1 million people watching, being able to share my testimony, and when I was announcing after my 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, being able to say that, I think it was God who worked it all out. And so I'm super glad I did that. Great opportunity. And shout out the Cougars. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're gonna. So 2 years from now is when you'll finally enroll at BYU. If I'm not mistaken, you got family connections to Provo. I think you got siblings that have attended school there. Is that another lure for you to go to Provo because of the family connection?
Of course. So much friends and family up there. My mom went there. She was a Cougarette. My brother's there right now, doing construction management, and he loves it there. He's always talked great about it. My sister did a year there, and now she's on her mission in Georgia, so she'll be heading back there after. Tons of my cousins are up there. They're still living up there. They were always chirping in my ear. BYU will come to all the games. So they're my best fan club. A couple of my grandparents went there, and then we have a ton of family and friends who live up there. So every time I'd go to visit a game, we would stay with them. We'd have Sunday dinner. It's just like so many connections up there. I'll never be alone.
Now, you had a pretty meteoric rise in terms of recruiting. So if I'm not mistaken, as a junior, you didn't have many offers, if any, and then all of a sudden you became this bona fide 4-star prospect. What led to all that?
Just trusting the process. I think I didn't do a great job of like promoting myself, kind of because I confidently, maybe I shouldn't have. I kind of knew I would eventually like get the offers. But yeah, a year ago today, I had no offers. February 1st, I got my first one in person from Washington State. Okay. And that kind of really like they say, it just takes one to catapult. And then that 8 hours later, I got another one. The next day, 2 in one day. So it just kind of like exploded. But that whole process, I kind of all along, I always envisioned myself playing for a college, playing on Saturdays. But I never actually did the work. So those out there watching and you're wanting to dream and you want to play in college, you gotta post your film. You got to post on Twitter, especially so coaches can see you. That was my thing is there's 1,000 other kids like me. If I'm not posting, like they'll just go pick one up. So I guess what led to it is just finally getting that first offer. It kind of exploded from there. And then, being open to any and every school who reached out.
Still got to do the work, right? You still got to promote yourself a little bit and obviously make sure people know who you are. One other thing I wanted to ask you about in terms of you building your, obviously your film and everything, you're a two-way player. You played running back, played linebacker. Were you a guy who embraced that? Was it of necessity? Like why would you play both ways in high school?
I loved it. But I also was needed on my team. This year, I know I'm being recruited for linebacker, but I haven't played linebacker. I've been a strong safety, which is kind of crazy for being 6'2", 235, strong safety coming down at a little receiver. But that's just where I was needed on the field, and so that's what being a football player entails. And that's probably something I'll do at BYU too. Is just wherever coach needs me, I'm there and I'm able to fill that spot. But I loved it. I love carrying the ball, being able to do that, and then switch over to defense and smack people too. It was fun getting action on special teams. Our kicker broke his foot in a rally last year, and so I had to step up and I was kicking the rest of the season. I was kicking, and then I was the first one down to make the tackle. It was just fun. It was kind of like backyard football, and just being able to do that and stay safe throughout my whole career doing it. It was fun. Yeah.
Total ball player. I appreciate that. Now, got a few more questions we'll get to momentarily. I got to ask you a very pertinent question. I know BYU fans are wondering about it. It relates to this year's Heisman Trophy winner. We'll get to that momentarily right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is here for you guys, no matter what you're into. With the NFL playoffs upon us, it can have a lot of fun from the first whistle to the final drive. Makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. It's as simple as that. $300 to keep the action going when you place that first $5 bet and it hits. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate and has a variety of bets to keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid out instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. That's the best part about it, my friends. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs overall, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com to get started once again. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Jake Hatch and McKay Madsen along for the ride here. Now, McKay, BYU just played Colorado in their bowl game and played against the Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter. Now, he is like the face of two-way players at the collegiate level, played 90% of Colorado's snaps, just an incredible player. So I'm going to ask the question I think a lot of Cougar Nation is wondering about. What's the chances of you playing both ways at BYU?
I think both ways in the same game is pretty unrealistic.
Okay.
As much as I'd want to, just the physical demands of college are so much more than high school.
Yeah.
And I would love to play for both coaches too, Coach Harvey Young and Coach Justin Anna in the same game. But I don't know if my body can physically handle that. Running back and linebacker, a lot different than receiver, corner, taking a lot of blows.
Yeah.
And having to know a lot too. Like as a linebacker, you got to know the most on the whole field, probably as much as the quarterback. So the chances are very slim. If guys go down and I'm needed to, I'm willing to step up. But probably not in the same game. Maybe alternating seasons, like
Yeah.
Tyler Algier,
Yeah.
a legend. Probably not the same game, but special teams for sure. And then whichever side of the ball I end up playing. So yeah.
Okay, so you said you kicked obviously in high school when you needed to. What's your range on your kicks? Could you make like a 40-yard field goal? Like what's the range?
So I didn't do field goals. They pulled up. I just did kickoffs.
Got it. Okay.
Because I'd be so gassed after like running and scoring the touchdown. I could not do a field goal. My dad did, however.
Okay.
But so on kickoffs, yeah, I got a couple touchbacks. Kind of depended on the cleats I was wearing. If I was wearing my high tops, they wouldn't really go. It looks like I'm toe bashing and everybody clowned me for it, but I'm not. It's just I don't have the flexibility in my hips and my ankle to make it look smooth like a kicker. And then I'd be wearing these big old bulky boots. But yeah, I got a couple touchbacks. That was really cool. Just I was jumping up and down after ripping off like a 40-yard run or something, then going and kicking off and then having to stay on the field for defense. It would get very tiring. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of Cougar fans, when you say that, they think of Taysom Hill because Taysom, when he was in high school, he played at Highland up there in Pocatello, Idaho. He kicked, he played offense, he essentially did what you did. So I think there's some comparisons there that are apt. Have you watched Taysom play before?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's they call him the Swiss Army knife for a reason. Yeah. A couple of my grandparents call me that a little bit. Just doing what's needed for the team and yeah, filling that role.
Now, you mentioned the fact that you had offers from BYU, both at running back and linebacker. There's that really cool photo of Justin and then Harvey going you both ways. Was that something you set up? Or was that something like when you came on that visit, they're like, hey, we're going to have some fun with this?
Yeah, I kind of set up that photo. Okay. I got them both in just for like a side-by-side photo. And I was like, hey, just grab my arms real quick for this picture. I kind of bent down and was like straining. I'm like, it turned out so good. So yeah, it's just a funny photo. They're both fighting for me. But they're both cool and are happy I'm on the team regardless.
When will you decide ultimately what side you're going to play? Is that when you return, go through spring ball, and then ultimately settle on a position? Like when will that decision come down?
So right now, I decided running back, and that's where Coach Sitake wants me, and he believes in me as a running back, and I love carrying the ball. So right now, that's what I'm enrolled as, be like an LJ Martin, big back, speed, power, dragging Heisman's into the end zone, all that. But if something were to happen, kind of like Tyler Algier, switch sides and roll from there.
Now, I've watched your film, and I watch and I see a lot of Cam Scadaboo in your running back style. Is that a guy you compare yourself to? Or is there somebody else you'd compare to?
Kind of. I'm taller than him. Yeah. And he kind of seeks contact. I don't really seek it. I try to avoid it as much as possible, just to protect myself. Growing up, I watched Christian McCaffrey, and he was like, I still have posters of him in my room. He's my like idol on the football field. I'm not as fast as he is, or as probably shifty, but just his vision and like he is hard to tackle. I'm not comparing myself to him in any way, but that's just who I grew up watching. I don't know. I guess like Luke Staley, BYU legend. That's kind of what Justin Anderson was saying. I'm like, and I pulled up his film, and yeah, I see a lot of comparisons there.
Well, like 6'2", Luke was a taller running back as well. Luke's from my era of watching BYU growing up, and I can tell you, he was an absolute just freak of nature. And there's comparisons there for sure. And I'll just say this as a 49ers fan, I will always take CMC as a comparison.
Yep. Yeah, he's awesome.
So last thing for me, I guess last couple of things for me are when do you plan on heading out on your mission? Have you got a date set? What's the plan there?
So I'm finishing up my papers still. Okay. I'll put them in probably in the next week or two, and then get my call sometime March.
Mhm.
And then still debating like when I want to actually leave. So that kind of matters when I put the papers in. But probably sometime in July.
Okay.
And then I plan on the full 2 years because that's what President Nelson has instructed us to do. And I know like the blessings I'll get from a full 2 years would be probably a lot more than 18 months. And coming back 6 months earlier isn't going to matter that much. I'm already missing 2 seasons of football anyway because I'm not graduating early and doing my track season.
Okay.
So I'm trusting in that. And I mean, my dad did his full 2 years and he went on to play college and was just as successful, if not more. So yeah, I'll be getting back fall of 2027. If I need to come home like a transfer too early to enroll, that's fine. But yeah, right now, full 2 years is the plan.
And now you talk about your track season upcoming. What track events do you compete in?
So I do shot put and discus. Big dumb thrower, I guess, is the stereotype.
Okay, don't say dumb thrower because you're state champion at this stuff, man.
Yeah, and not dumb either. I mean, I'm sitting at a 4.2
Nice.
on straight A's throughout all of high school. So that was one of my main goals this year was keeping that straight A's. So I just got to go 12 weeks now and then solidify those straight A's, and that'll be one of my most proudest accomplishments, I guess.
What do you like most about the throws? Like, why throw versus being a sprinter, being a running back?
Because I'm not throwing up every day on the track. I've always done throws. It's so chill. It's like such a cool community.
Yeah.
I brought some of my football buddies out freshman year, and then we kind of just have all done it together since. They've gotten scholarships from it, which is super cool. Being able to continue that, but it's nice. It's chill, and it's so great to be able to see yourself like improve, whether it's an inch every meet. But it's a nice break from football. You can set goals. Like it's such a healthy mind and body. And then it's also provided me opportunities. Like, I mean, I'm a double state champion, and being able to speak about that, and it's being able to. I'm also gonna try to continue that at BYU, throwing with my sister there, being teammates again. Like that'll be awesome. So I love track. Throws is not as viewed much as the sprints is, and that's okay, because I try to bring some attention to it. It needs to be appreciated more. But yeah, I love track. I love doing both sports, and I think it's great to do both sports because it allows me to not get burnt out just from one.
What are your career bests in both throws, real quick?
At the state track meet last year, I threw 206.8 in discus.
Okay.
And then at Nike Nationals in Oregon, my last meet, I threw 65 1.5. And that was a huge PR. That was a 1.5 PR.
Wow.
Yeah. So I came into that meet, I was ranked like 13th or 15th. And my first two were fouls. So I had one more throw to even make finals. And I put out a 63. And that was my second best throw all time. So that was already huge. I was already stoked, like proud of myself for that day. And then so I made finals and these are the best throwers in the nation. They're all going to full ride plus in college, all huge names. And I was like, I have nothing to lose. Like I'm already here. Let's have some fun. So my fifth throw, I just ripped a bomb, 65. And I was so stoked about that. Later that night, there's a shot put showcase. And it's just like a fun little competition, but the marks still count. And so we only had one throw. In the warm-ups, I was chucking bombs. Like at this point, my technique is like, where has this been the whole season? And so I'm just like trying stuff, mimicking the other guys. Yeah. My warm-ups are going like 66, maybe 67.
Wow.
My first throw, my one and only throw, I guess, I put it out there. It would have been like another foot PR, but I just barely leaned forward and fall over the toe board. I was so mad.
Okay.
But like it's there.
Yeah.
It's not there now. It'll take a couple months to get that back, but yeah, it's there. So those bests are good, but I'm hoping for, my goals this season are 70 in shot and a 215 plus in disc. Yeah.
All right. So you may not be a two-way player on the football field, but I think we can expect maybe a two-sport athlete at BYU with those numbers. So that's the fun part. Well, McKay, thank you so much for carving out some time. Excited to see you when we see you, obviously, at BYU. But best of luck with the mission plans and everything. And, hey, best of luck. Keep that 4.0 GPA intact, all right?
Yep, always.
All right. That's McKay Madsen. I'm Jake Hatch. A big thank you, as always, for your support of the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. Make sure to shout out McKay on social media as well. I know a number of you have already been doing that, but as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. And once again, thank you for being everydayers with us right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.